Please welcome LaDonna Greiner.
Thank you. If you could change one thing in your life, one thing that would make you happier, healthier, and more successful, what would it be? Fame, fortune, a winning lottery ticket? We'd all love to do that, wouldn't we? Harvard Business School started a study on adult development. Just one second, I got it at my clicker. So, Harvard Business School started a research on the study of adult development. They started with 724 people, ranging from Harvard grads to poor boys from the Boston tenements. And 75 years later, this same study continues on the longest study on happiness, with 60 participants still participating. They looked at all aspects of their lives. And do you know what they discovered? What do you think resulted in the greatest happiness? Was it more money, lots of possessions, a higher status? No, it was none of these things. What resulted in the greatest happiness was relationships. Those who had the strongest, most positive relationships were the happiest. It didn't matter if they were CEOs or janitors, rich or poor. Their relationships, or the lack thereof, determined their happiness as well as their longevity and their emotional and physical health. Saying thank you builds relationships. Showing your appreciation creates stronger relationships, which in turn creates happiness. Now, many of us are looking for the best place to work, as Don talked about earlier. And happiness in the workplace is something that's rather elusive, I would think. But gratitude can make a difference. It makes a difference from the boardroom to the bedroom and everywhere in between. And yes, it is true. Grateful people have a better love life. Try it and see. So let's take a look at how gratitude can help us build relationships and experience greater happiness in the workplace, in our community, and at home. We're going to start with the workplace. As you might imagine, gratitude is the basis for appreciation and recognition, praise, and encouragement. Those 80 million people that Don talked about that are looking for jobs, they are not looking for jobs if they're working in a work culture where they feel appreciated. I often am asked to talk about my 21 Reasons to Say Thank You books, and people come up and share their stories with me. RJ is a construction supervisor, and he has a crew of guys that are, macho guys, not much on verbal thank yous. It's more high fives, pats on the back. They work hard, they get the job done. But they're not really big on verbal compliments. Well, RJ heard me speak on appreciation in the workplace, and he decided to try something new. He started thanking his guys. So what do you think these macho guys thought when he said something like, "Mike, great job on that breaker box. Way to hustle." Or, "Joe, good job on catching that error on the wiring. I love your attention to details." He probably didn't say love. He probably said something like, "I appreciate your attention to the details." How do you think that impacted his crew? Well, at first, they thought it was a little weird. They started, they kind of chided him. But over time, he continued and he kept it up, praising and encouraging them. And it made a difference in their productivity. It made a difference in their attitude. They actually began thanking each other. RJ's appreciative thank yous made his team more successful. Now, what if you could go to work on Monday morning knowing that you were going to a job where you felt valued and appreciated? Would it make a difference? I hope so, because 3.1 million people in the U.S. left their jobs each month from June to September in 2017. 700,000 of those were from the Midwest. Gallup tells us that the number one reason people leave their jobs is because they feel unappreciated and undervalued. It costs companies money. Employees that leave, it takes more than half their pay to find their replacement and train their replacement. And that doesn't take into account the negative impact on morale, customers, the company's reputation. As Don said, people look you up online and they know, they can tell from talking to others what kind of a company you are. So, what can we do if we're a small business and we don't have employees? Maybe that doesn't apply to us. However, you do have coworkers, you have suppliers, you have subcontractors, you have people who give you referrals, who help support your business, you have customers. These all help your business to succeed. When's the last time you thanked them? People want to work for people who appreciate their skills and their contributions. So establish strong relationships. Say thank you to the people that you work with. It'll make a difference in your success and your future. Now, we've talked about the workplace. Let's talk a little bit about the macro view with the community. For 16 years, I traveled hosting donors to seed projects in developing countries. These are projects they wanted to fund. John and I met these two children in this picture, the 4- and 6-year-old, at an AIDS clinic. John wanted to spend the day there, and that's what we did. The next day, we went to a home where we met 15 women and children, every one of them infected with AIDS and had full-blown AIDS. These women had been thrown out of their homes to live on the streets, disowned by their families, treated worse than the animals. We sat and we talked with them. We laughed with them. We played with the children. We ate from their plates. We drank from their cups. We consumed the food they prepared for us. Now, this was 10, 12 years ago. People weren't doing that, and especially people from other countries were not doing that. No one spent the day with them. John and I listened to stories of a child abandoned 600 miles away, of wives who had been thrown out on the streets, totally abandoned by their families and left to die, basically. We listened to them, we cried with them, we mourned with them, and at the end of the day, we hugged them goodbye. That was one of the most richest and moving experiences in my 16 years of international work. I am so glad that I got to meet these women and children. Years later, a friend of mine was visiting the same area, a colleague, and they were still talking about us. We made that much of an impression on them. They were still talking about our visit. You know, we didn't build a building, we didn't build a church, a school, or a home. We built relationships. Material things disintegrate, and they're forgotten. But time spent building a relationship lasts forever in their hearts and minds. Now, you don't have to go overseas to make a difference. We have lots of opportunities right here to show your appreciation by giving your time to the elderly or to kids. Boys and Girls Club, CASA, Big Brothers Big Sisters are dying to have people come and volunteer for them. I've done this for years. And a few years ago, a first grader asked me if I'd met President Lincoln. Yes, I think he was serious. Last year, I was walking down the hall with my lunch buddy. We were looking at Santa Claus pictures on the wall, talking about, is there one Santa or many Santas? So I asked him, I said, well, what do you think? And he said, oh, we're Christian. We believe in one Santa. Kids help you, give you a different perspective on life. But sometimes we just don't feel like saying thank you. We just don't have that gratitude in our hearts. Or the moment is just too frustrating. And this happened to me not too long ago. I drove up to a fast food window thinking that I was going to get a quick breakfast. That's why you go to fast food, is to get in and out in a hurry. This was anything but fast. I was there for probably 20 minutes waiting on my food at each step of the way. I was getting frustrated, upset, concerned because I was going to be late. And then I glanced over at my seat and I saw my gratitude kit there. And it hit me. It's only 20 minutes of your life. Why are you getting so upset? You should find some reason to be grateful. Now, I'll admit, it took a little while for me to calm down, but I had plenty of time. I was waiting. And so I came up with this. This is what I wrote. Ella, thank you for your kind and sincere efforts. I hope your day ends on a high note. LaDonna. Now, when she opened the window, I handed her this note on top of my money. You would have thought that I had given her a $100 bill. I mean, she was literally ecstatic. As it turned out, I made her day, and she made mine. Sometimes it's the person that we don't see that needs the thank you the most. A simple, sincere thank you can turn an experience around. It can change a negative to a positive. Now, we've taken a look at the macro view for the workplace and the community, but what about our personal lives? Let's take a look at the micro view. You know, we all have relationships that have gone awry. Maybe we're estranged from a family member, or we have a strained relationship with a coworker. These are all things that maybe we try and forget, we try and bury, but they're there in the shadows of our mind. The Harvard Business Study shows that negative relationships actually shorten life. And get this, they cause unhappiness. We needed a study to tell us that, right? Negative relationships can have a really detrimental impact on your life. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a coworker. For me, it was my mom. My mom and I have been at odds with each other for years. We speak, but it's only on a superficial level. Grace wasn't prevalent in our home during my childhood. The pain and the hurt goes deep on both sides, but I came to accept it. And it is what it is. However, I still yearn for that loving, accepting parental relationship. Then I started reading about gratitude. I discovered all the amazing benefits that come from living gratefully. Now, I've always been a positive person, but I can't say I've always been grateful. Upon reading and reflecting, I decided to write my mom a note. Now, I had to go back and find something in my childhood that I was truly thankful for, because when you write a thank you, it needs to be genuine and sincere, or it's meaningless, and it needs to be specific. And so I had to give, after a lot of thought and prayer, this is what I wrote. Dear Mom, I wanted to let you know how much I appreciate your love of nature. I'm so glad you shared this passion with me as I was growing up. I know you did the best you could in raising me, and I really meant that. I appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Love, LaDonna. So I sent that to her, and you might think that I would hear immediately, but I didn't. However, I chose not to let that bother me, because you don't write a thank you, you don't express gratitude, expecting something in return. The comfort comes from knowing that you have made a sincere effort. Now, eventually I did hear from my mom. She texted me a thank you, and since then, our relationship has gotten progressively better. Gratitude can transform relationships. It can take anger, resentment, dissatisfaction, even mild depression, and turn it into happiness. So I encourage you, if you have someone in your life that you have a strained relationship with, be the one to extend that olive branch. It may not happen immediately, but if you send them a handwritten note, eventually the relationship will begin, you will start that mending process, and it will begin to improve. So now we come to the real stickler, hesitation. A lot of us hesitate when we're going to say thank you to a colleague, to a family member. But this happened to me actually. When I was reading about gratitude, I thought about all the people in my life and that had helped my family and myself. The banker in Georgia who helped us get the money at the last minute so that we could close on our house here in Missouri. My daughter's middle school teacher who gave her the confidence to excel in math and science. But I hesitated. I didn't have the right note. I didn't have the right pen. I couldn't find a postage stamp, and it didn't happen. Now, the good thing is, my lack of preparedness led me to create a gratitude kit where you have everything in one place so that you can do away with the hesitation, and it helps you write a thank you or a note of encouragement right away. However, hesitation is not a good thing. If you're that football player throwing the pass and you hesitate, just a moment too long, what happens? Lose the game, you get sacked. I sure don't want anybody to hesitate if I need the Heimlich maneuver. And merging into traffic, have you ever been in a situation where somebody hesitated and nearly created an accident or possibly even a fatality? Hesitation creates stress in our brain and it creates guilt. It also creates fear. Now, fear is natural. Our body naturally wants to avoid emotional things or things that are uncomfortable. But how are we going to change if we don't go outside our comfort zone? You need to do some things that are uncomfortable, even scary. I hear a lot of excuses from people. Oh, I have bad handwriting. I can't write a note. I'm afraid I'll say the wrong thing. They'll look at me as a brown noser. All of these things are hesitation creeping in. And the terrible thing about hesitation is it actually kills motivation. But now I have some good news. The good news is I can help you change that. If you want to experience better relationships, if you want to take control of your decisions, if you want to have a happier, successful life, I'm going to give you a couple of tools here where you can do that. Step 1. Set a happiness relationship goal. Think about somebody that you want to say happy things to, or you want to thank. Make it doable and write it down. We do things that we write down. We're much more likely to do it if it's written down. And here's some examples, some ideas for you, and I'll also have some on my Facebook page. But that first one, it could be something as simple as thanking someone that opens the door. That's one of my pet peeves. People just breeze through the door and I held the door for a minute. It's like I'm the doorman, And you should even thank the doorman, Or it could be thanking your kids for unloading the dishwasher, thanking your spouse for picking up dinner, thanking the colleague for cleaning out the refrigerator. When I worked in an office, nobody wanted to clean out the refrigerator. There were things in there that should have been thrown away 6 months ago. Could be a fossil or something. Anyway, it's the things that we take for granted that we really need to show our appreciation for. So take that opportunity over the next few weeks and visualize how you're going to feel when you do something nice for someone. Take a moment and savor that feeling. And then go on to step 2, how to outsmart yourself and stop hesitation dead in its tracks. Now, hesitation is something that we all deal with. But I have the 5-second rule that will help you overcome that. This is not the 5-second rule where you pick up the food off the floor and eat it within 5 seconds. This is the 5-second rule to overcome hesitation. If you've heard of Mel Robbins, she popularized this method, but I don't think she uses it with gratitude. I think it's a perfect fit. So picture in your mind your goal that you set, and then I want you to think about this video as you get ready to write your thank you or your note of encouragement.
All the second stage tanks now pressurized. 35 seconds and counting. We are still go 30 seconds and counting. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
want you to launch your thank you like the NASA space shuttle. Did you catch what he said in there? Feels good. Guidance is internal. Ignition sequence starts. Those are perfect motivators for this next challenge. Oops, we went too far. For this next challenge that I have for you. And that is to thank someone every day for the next 21 days. I'm going to have some suggestions on my Facebook page, and I'd love for you to share your experiences. I'll be out in the lobby with some additional ideas during the breaks. But this is a great chance for you to experience the happiness that comes from saying thank you, from developing a relationship. Use it to develop relationships with people from all aspects of your lives, because you know that leads to happiness. Now, I would like for you to use the power of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to ignite the gratitude in your life. And without further hesitation, thank you for coming today.